It is officially summer, and I don't know about you, but when it is summer, I love to really get in the spirit of the season. I love to when I have the time and the ability to go on hikes and go camping and even go to the beach. But also with summer comes fun summer snacks, and the one that comes to my mind over all others is s'mores. I definitely have memories growing up of having s'mores. I was in Girl Scouts as a little girl and we would always make s'mores. And now as an adult, I also want to partake in s'mores in the summer, but I want to do it my way, and that is with making things homemade. So in today's video, I am going to show you how you can make homemade s'mores as well, and that is going to include making homemade graham crackers as well as homemade marshmallows. So stick with me and we will make some delicious summer s'mores together. Let's go ahead and pop in the kitchen. Here we are in the kitchen, and I have a whole bunch of ingredients all ready to go set out in front of me, as well as 2 bowls to start out with the graham crackers. So to start with the graham crackers, we're going to be using the dry ingredients first in a bowl, and that is going to be flour, sugar, baking soda, cinnamon, and a little bit of salt. So first we're going to want to grab our whole wheat flour. It's pretty important that you use whole wheat in this recipe because that's traditionally what makes it a graham cracker. So we're going to want to do 2 cups of whole wheat flour, a cup of brown sugar, a teaspoon of both cinnamon and baking soda, I kind of did a heaping teaspoon, but I like cinnamon, so that's okay. And just a little pinch of salt in there, not too much. So I'm going to get my spatula and give this a good mix together so all the ingredients are well distributed throughout. And then I'm going to add to it 7 tablespoons of butter. That is just a little less than a stick of butter that has been softened to room temperature. I'm going to add it right into, I'm going to break it up with my hands a little bit. And then I'm going to use my fingers to really mix it together. As you're mixing this in with your fingers, you want it to come together almost kind of like a breadcrumb texture. That's kind of what we're going for. Once that is accomplished, we're then going to, in a separate bowl, get a little bit of our wet ingredients together, and I might also dust my hands off a little bit. But in the wet bowl, we're going to do 3 tablespoons of milk, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and a 1/4 cup of honey. Now the recipe I was originally looking at said to add 1/3 cup of honey, but that just seemed like a lot to me personally. I may regret it changing it to 1/4, but I will let you know. But I'm using 1/4. Then when your wet mixture is all mixed together thoroughly, we're gonna pour it into our dry mixture and then really mix that together to form a nice sticky dough. And I'm just gonna go ahead and get in there with my hands again because it is really effective in this recipe to make it all nice and ready to go. You want to see it start becoming able to kind of stick together like that in your hands. And once we are done mixing this together, we're going to go ahead, throw something over the top of the bowl and put it in the fridge for at least an hour, kind of similar like you do with gingerbread cookies and other things like that, to make it ready for us to roll. But you can definitely leave it in there longer. I myself am probably going to go ahead and leave it overnight and come back to this in the morning since I have other things to do. But so this is a great recipe to start ahead of time. It only took me a few minutes to put this together, and then I can finish it up tomorrow. So this is what it's going to look like, and I'm going to go ahead and cover it and throw it in the fridge. Now let's talk about the marshmallows. So for the marshmallows in my mixing bowl, I have 7 teaspoons of plain unflavored gelatin mixed with about 1/2 cup of water. And that is just going to sit and wait till I am ready for it. And on the stove, I have 2.5 cups of sugar, and then 3/4 cup of water. And I'm gonna go ahead and mix that. And then I'm going to heat it over medium heat until it gets to a boil. Now that it is at a boil, I'm gonna go ahead, put the lid on, and let it cook without me touching it for 2 minutes. And then we will take the lid off and see how it's doing. It has been 2 minutes. And that is looking good. So what I'm going to do now is grab a thermometer. If I had a sugar thermometer, that would be better, but I don't. And we want to see this at about 245 degrees. When it's ready, we're going to go ahead, turn off the heat, move it away, and we're going to wait for all those bubbles to stop bubbling. And this is what it looks like. It very much looks like marshmallow fluff that you would just see in the store. Same texture, tastes the same as well. So now I'm just gonna clean this off and take this bowl over to a pan that I've already buttered and just pour it in there. And we're gonna let it sit for at least 6 hours to really become marshmallow that is less like marshmallow fluff and more like marshmallows that we can put on a s'more. But gooey marshmallow texture is definitely what you want to see. I'm making a mess already. I forgot to this time, but usually I add a little bit of vanilla extract as well. And that of course just adds a little vanilla flavor, but this is great by itself. And now we're just gonna let it sit for at least 6 hours before being able to cut into it. And it is now another day, and so I got my pans out and ready to go. The marshmallow over here is ready for me to cut into when I'm ready. I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my oven to 350. And let's go ahead and grab that graham cracker dough, I guess you call it, out of the fridge and get it ready to roll out. Okay, one batch in, and we're gonna let those cook for 10 minutes. You can let it go for 10 to 12. While that's cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and take the same knife that I was using to kind of make the shapes for the cookies to go and chop our marshmallow into marshmallow cubes. So this is definitely what you want to see. I poke it and it's just marshmallowy. There's no goo coming off on me now. It is just one big chunk, and I could have made this smoother so that they'd be nicer, but you know. So I'm just gonna go now and cut these up. And now we have a beautiful marshmallows. Not the traditional kind of circular cylinder ones, but nice squares. And you can see just how nice and squishy they are. And this is what they look like fresh out of the oven. Very similar to a graham cracker. You absolutely could go ahead and like take a ruler and maybe even a pizza cutter and make them perfect, but that's just not something I felt necessary. But if you really want that store-bought graham cracker look, go for it. I did add some details, as you saw, doing the lines and the dots to kind of make them look more graham crackery. So the last ingredient of a s'more, of course, is chocolate. And as much as I would love to make chocolate completely homemade, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take some semi-sweet chocolate chips that I have, do a little bit of a melt on them, and make them almost a chocolate spread. You could also, of course, just buy a nice organic chocolate, but that is definitely really up to you. And then once I have that nice chocolate spread, then we just have to assemble and have our s'mores. All right. Time for the taste test, and of course it'd be a little better if the marshmallow was cooked over an open fire, but since I don't have that available right now, let's just go ahead and that is not only just as good as a s'more from my childhood, but it is far superior. That turned out so good. Just an absolutely perfect s'more combination of flavors. You cannot beat this for this summer. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and finish my s'more, but thank you so much for coming along with me on making our own homemade s'mores. If you like this kind of content and would like to see more in the future, please consider subscribing and joining our community of like-minded folk. I put out a new video every Monday. You can check out different playlists of things you might be interested in on my channel. But that is gonna do it for today, and I do hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!